because I am a 10 of a 10 almost every day on happiness, right? But that is by complete design.
Will from BrainFlow here, and really quickly I want to jump in and say thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'm so excited for you to check out what Rob Dyrdek has to say about law of attraction, building a business, and entrepreneurship. I think you guys are going to get a ton of value out of this video. Secondly, I hope you take the time to subscribe and comment below. Love the feedback, love hearing what you guys have to say. So with that being said, let's jump into the top 5 things that Rob Dyrdek has said about the law of attraction, manifestation, and creating a life that you love.
I'm a guy who's like practices manifestation, and I truly believe that you can put to practice this idea of manifestation, and it can really help you be driven and drawn to the stuff that you hope to achieve. Now, manifestation is not a lottery ticket. Okay, like it is not like, man, if I can just think over and over that I will have $10 million, it doesn't matter how I think about it, it's going to show up on my lap. You know, I think a lot of people that think about it from that sort of lens and that sort of idea of like, oh, that's, you know, you're trying to like put something in the make-believe imagination and hope that it comes true. But for me, I don't practice it like that, and I practice it every single day. You know, I get in my meditation pod and I listen to a guided meditation about manifesting, and I literally spend that time just projecting myself into the future about the things that I want to see happen in the future. And then I experience them. I don't just kind of think about them one-dimensionally, man. Like, I feel them. Like, I am inside that meditation, like, sitting in the kitchen, talking to my older children in the house that I want to build. But I really commit to that. You know, when I make a vision board, I don't, like, make a vague vision board. Like, I identify every single thing that I want, and I make it in detail, you know? And so I decided when I redid my vision board this year, I identified the actual location and building that I wanted to buy one day. And even in my sort of life vision, I looked at this happening in 2026, you know? But I would meditate and see myself like out on the roof deck, like, you know, talking through like events and different experiences with our portfolio companies. Like, that's how like far I pushed this thing. Then I went and shot photos of the actual building. I did this on December 27th. On like January 2nd, I get a random text from Billy G of Outstanding Foods, who I had said in passing that I wanted to have a forever office one day. He just said, hey, I got a real estate friend who's like basically manages all the high-end property acquisitions in Beverly Hills. Like, do you have any interest in talking to him? Are you still into like getting a forever office? I said, oh, absolutely. Right? And so for me, here it comes. Here it comes. All I did was like begin to think about it and put it in the universe. And then what happens? Like, I didn't win the lottery, and I didn't get a call from somebody that said, hey, do you want this building down here for $1? We're giving the building away. I got a tool, right? It was now a seasoned real estate agent that could actually help navigate this, you know, better understanding and learning of the potential of having this building was popped right into my life. Right. And this is an example of for me of what happens to me on a continual basis, where I'm decide in my head sort of the vision of like what it is I want to achieve or manifest. And then I put effort into really thinking about it. Right. And this one obviously is quite specific, but you know, no sooner do me and this gentleman start talking. Of course, I say, you know, I manifested this because I just put the vision board together and just started really like visualizing my forever office that I want to create one day. and then shared with him the exact building that I wanted to get. Within a week, he contacted the owner, and then the owner is like, we'd be willing to take an offer. And when we ran the numbers, it was half the price of what I actually thought the building was. And I'm like, what? Like, what? So on December 27th, when I'm making my vision board, I had it planned for 2026. You know what I mean? And no part of me ever thought in a million years that within a few weeks I would be making an offer on the building that I had on my vision board. You know, and again, this is extreme manifestation, and in my opinion, it's pretty remarkable that the path would go in that direction. But it's this idea that it wasn't about like anything being given to me. It was getting incredibly specific about what I wanted out of life, and then using manifestation as a tool to help pull me towards it, right? And so what did I get from just picking the location, visualizing it, and setting sort of a goal on what I wanted to happen in the future? I then began to see the universe conspire to pull me towards it. Again, to anyone out there, when it comes to thinking about manifestation and using it more as a tool, and I would say this: if you want to practice manifesting, it's super simple, right? It's getting as detailed and clear as you can possibly get on the things that you want to do or achieve, and then spending time not just like wishing for them, but feeling what it's going to feel like when you actually achieve the moment. Buy the building and you're standing in it. Build the house and you're standing in it. Build the company and you're sitting in the office. Like when your body does not know the difference between the realness in your mind and the realness of your reality. And the more that you can put into feeling it, the stronger of a flag you're going to plant in the universe that's going to conspire to pull you towards whatever it is you hope to make.
I built that system, a life system and a life plan, and grew into it in a way that I don't have work-life balance. I live a highly balanced, highly optimized existence in all aspects, right? So you basically, and what's the center of that? I'm just peace, happiness, and energy, right? Like you go from thing to thing all day that you love doing, and from years of optimization, so that I understood what really makes me happy, then designed a life around that, then optimized it in such a way that truly, I almost rarely even have a negative thought is at the depth of how much happiness and balance that I have in my life. And I do think it should be everybody's goal in life to grow into that level of happiness, And in that sort of journey of trying to get clarity on sort of who I was as a person and what type of business person did I want to be, I found a business book called Start at the End. So it's just in concept, it was like, know what you want out of a business before you ever start it. It made me realize is why don't I apply that to my life? And I think I started at that point of like, well, who do I really want to be? What is the ideal version of my life? And what does that look like? And then I began to see my life as sort of these interconnected systems. And I started first with designing the life that a life plan and the life that I wanted to live. And then I evolved and grew into the person that I am today. Like you evolve into becoming, you expand into your ideal person and ideal life. Then you're like, wow, this is amazing. I just created reality. Then every day is about living optimized and healthy and happy and all of these things. So design it, then eventually automate it, then optimize it to be able to grow into this level of balance. Experiencing in the present what you created in the past, right? And what you get to do in the future, you get to create in the present. Like I always like could feel intuitively the law of attraction, right?
Really?
And so even when I look at like I was lost at 25 years old when I was like searching for some sort of way to, I was like a fix to help like redirect me and get me remotivated and refocused. And that's why I was looking for a hypnotist, right? And then I found a hypnotist who was at the Scripps La Jolla Hospital, and so to me, I'm like, okay, this is like a clinical psychologist hypnotist. This is real. You know what I mean? I found him in the Yellow Pages. It was
What's his name?
pre-internet. The great Dr. George Pratt. But it wasn't till 2018. I was in a bit of a bit of a pit of chaos, right? Because here's these great plans that I have built that were unfolding. 2016, it was all coming alive, right? Our interview was at peak youthful energy of like, the world is mine. I just moved to Beverly Hills. I'm having my first child. Got my new office in Beverly Hills, like my forever estates. Just launched the machine that month, right? All of these things, like I'm gonna build and sell all these companies. Still had never done it. Just the vision, the hope, everything. The energy of what was going to become, in 2018, like things got sideways. My wife suggested, like, why don't we just watch The Secret?
Wow.
And so I'm like, what, and I kind of remember The Secret, I sort of like remember The Secret, and then, the first 15 minutes, it just shifted my being.
Really?
It shifted my being in way of thinking of like stop it. Like, look at who you are, what you've done, and look at like the good that has constantly like found its way to you. Don't lose sight of that. Like, and I began to practice belief. And literally like a month later, my internal medicine specialist is talking about meditation. And I'm like, I have to meditate. And she's like, oh, in my office, we have this new company that has these meditation pods, the Soma Dome, right? And I'm like, can I try it out? And inside this Soma Dome, it's a guided meditation about manifestation.
Really?
And so what I started doing in 2018 is I was like, I'm not going to like hope for the law of attraction. I'm going to begin to practice it. So I would go to sleep every night watching The Secret. So it was the last thing I went to bed. And then when I would get up in the morning, I would get in my dome, right? And I would just like think of all the things I wanted to happen, right? And so instead of thinking in 2018 when they were talking about ending Ridiculousness and I was in season 12, I decided I wasn't going to manifest season 13. I kept manifesting walking onto stage introducing season 30. Right?
Holy cow. So you weren't thinking about the next season. You were thinking about 20 seasons away.
Right. The seas began to part, right? And so it goes from right there. I got it to his number. We negotiated, and I was getting 30 episode seasons at a time back then. And I said, I can only do this price if we get to 42 episodes and you got to pick up multiple seasons.
Wow.
And I was hoping for 2. He picked up 4, right? And so it went from thinking that it was completely like I'm going to have to regroup and like television's over here to like now you're shooting 180. That 186 order, I took it straight to market. Now I took it to market. Here's the 3 years in EBITDA, and we have the biggest order in the history of cable television, right? Like
that's the biggest order?
One of the biggest ones, right? And so that is how huge that changed. No brainer. Let's do it. So they then ordered 500. 500
eps?
Yes.
In 2 years?
In 2 years, and that put me to 30 seasons, right? So
Holy.
It's like, so,
Oh my goodness.
And again,
so you were visualizing 30.
Visualizing 30. And I'll tell you one thing, I actually spent some time with the great Dr. Joey Dispenza, right? And the one thing I heard from him is this idea of don't try to think it, try to feel it. Don't when you're trying to like tap into the quantum field and
and generate energy in the law of attraction, the things that you are thinking about, think about the feeling. That's why I like went through the feeling of like what it feels like to be on stage. Welcome to season 30, right? So it's a much more richer sort of existence. So now it's like I practice it every single day. I am in that Somodome meditation pod, like feeling what I want to happen.
Wow.
7 days a week, almost never miss a day, right? And I track it super extensively, and like literally it's like 97, 96, like almost every, like 97% of this entire year I have been in there just visualizing what I want to happen. Like this, I'm gonna fall asleep instantly, right? Like I sleep pure and quick, but it's like let me be in this like sort of growth mindset as I'm like drifting off asleep to like set the tone, right, for what it is. So it really is a compound effect in all aspects of your life if you see your life as all of these different systems that have the ability to expand, right? Because as they expand and they're harmonious, you get this extraordinary energy and build this great foundation that you grow into the ideal version of yourself, because that's ultimately everybody's goal.
I think a lot of people have interesting ideas that are one step away from, man, if you just thought about it like this and approached it like this, here's where your actual opportunity is, right? And in the beginning, you want to do an idea, you go and learn about it. You're growing belief in the idea. Then you build a plan, you share that idea, people validate it. Oh, that's amazing. Then you're like, oh, I think this is going to work. Then you start building the plan, you start learning and seeing it. You're like, oh, this is it, right? And so now if you fast forward, now you launch this idea and you're back to how I was saying earlier, these milestones are where you're growing belief and you're learning more and making progress. You're like, man, I can really do this. You get to the first milestone, you're like, man, like now you see the second one clear of what you got to do. You start to really generate belief that like, wow, I'm going to actually accomplish this. This is actually going to work. And to me, progression towards these milestones generates belief in you, right? And when you have the belief, you have the energy to keep pushing and be patient because you're making progress in these milestones. If you're not making progress towards that first milestone and you keep trying everything over and over, but you just keep your eyes on the big prize, but you can't make any progress, that's where it's going to be extraordinarily miserable. Right? When you're making clear progress and hitting milestones and getting on to the next one and getting better and better at creating clarity in your path to your big idea, filled with energy, filled with excitement, plenty of patience, because you can actually see now, oh, it's going to take 5 years, not 3 years like I thought, but I'm still making progress. That's where it comes from. I just think that people underestimate like that where confidence and self-belief and belief comes in from in general is it starts first with how you were raised and the foundation of your early success that basically starts you with a foundation. Now it's on you to just determine what are all the things that you have to do to grow that within yourself. And that is especially true in business, but also in life, right? And then when you become really good at something, what do? You're an expert. You have confidence. You have belief in yourself, like others have belief in you. Like it generates all of that together, which ultimately leads you towards expertise and ultimately something taking less effort that gives you more energy than it takes too, right? In the sense of how powerful belief is in everything that you do. It's like when I decided in 2016 I was going to build and sell 30 to 50 companies and make $1 billion in liquidity. When I did that, I had never sold a company in my life. Right? I had never built and sold a company in my life. It's like, but this is what I'm going to do. Right? In 2019, we sold 4, right? 3 years later. And it's like when you sell the first one and it's like, oh, whoa, what? look at us. Like, then it's like, then one you built from scratch, now that gets acquired and a huge payday. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I figured I really understand. Now I've been through it. It's going through it, and it's like, now, like, there's like, not only did it help push me into the person that the ideal version of who I wanted to become on all aspects, right? But then it has built this deep core level of belief where it's like, every one that I do, I know it's going to go on that path. And if it's twisting or turning in some form or another, I know it, because in the beginning it was like, well, if this doesn't happen, then maybe it won't. So when that thing starts happening, it's like, oh man, okay, yeah, well, at least I saw the one hole that was potential in this thing not finding that way. I know how to look at that again in the future. Once you've created everything into such a system and your knowledge becomes so deep, you transition to efficient, effortless, intuitive decision making. Ultimately, that financial aspect of it led me to, like, you have to, like, learn, like, exactly what you want out of money, and ultimately, like, what does money mean to you? And I think, like, when that was like a huge breakthrough, because I was in that state of just keep working hard and just keep trying to make money. And eventually you will make so much money that you can figure it out. Right? Rather than like really understanding money, understanding like what you want it for and what it provides you, and then learning to grow money, assets, and value was a huge changer for me, because I grew, I quit high school, had a normal, hardworking, middle-class family from Ohio. They never had any money. It's like, nobody taught me. I was raised by entrepreneur wolves, and it was just like, risk over everything. Like, oh, if you want to do it, you got to go do it. When I was young, in my fantasy factory and robbing big days, when I was just, doing thing after thing. Okay, now I got this television platform. I'm going to do this and this. Okay, I'm going to start this show. Like, when I'm just doing thing after thing, I used to say, like, Dyrdek Enterprises, our money's fearless, right? Because scared money doesn't make money. And it's like, that is a very valid statement, but my money wasn't fearless. It was reckless, right? It was like, I wasn't doing calculated risk investments. I was just being reckless with money, right? So I thought it was more a badge of honor, to make $1 million and lose $1 million, right? Versus like really understanding that, no, it is about long-term value growth that someone like me would have never learned.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you got a ton of value out of it. Take what Rob has said, run with it, try and implement it into your own lives, and I'm excited to see what you can create. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.